Hi everyone, and welcome to the Dapt mini-series. This is part 8 of 20 top tips with Microsoft Word. We've got some great stuff to show you today, so let's do some quick introductions. My name's Stephen Port, and I'm joined by Daniel Fowle. We're both the co-founders and directors of Dapt in the UK. Daniel will be running the sessions today on all things about Microsoft Word. We've got some great stuff to show you. So I shall hand over to Daniel, who'll take you through the agenda for today and also the demo.
Lovely, thanks Steve. Yeah, so today's session is on Microsoft Word. So first up, we're going to look at how Word fits in with Microsoft 365. One thing that a lot of people don't know is that you've actually got access to 5 client licenses. You can install this on other devices. We'll go through how to do that. We'll look at some key features and some new features that have been launched in the last year, and there's some really cool stuff in there. So I think that would be really useful. We'll also look at co-authoring, versioning, and then we'll give you some top tips to close out. So with that, I'm going to jump straight into the demo so we can show you some of this good stuff. Okay, so first up, as I mentioned, with Microsoft 365, we effectively get 2 versions of Word. One is available via the waffle, so you can see here you've got your Microsoft Word, which you can access online, and this actually gives you pretty much feature parity with the desktop client. Wasn't the case in the old days, but it's pretty much there now. In fact, you'll actually find that some of the new features are installed into the online version before they come down to the desktop version. Another thing that we found a lot of people aren't aware of is that you can actually install Microsoft, well, the whole Office suite onto multiple devices. So to do this, if you click on your profile picture, you'll see there's an option to view your account. So if I click on this, it's actually going to take me through to some information about my Microsoft 365 account in my demo environment. And actually, if I scroll down here, you see there's an option for Office apps. I can click in here to manage my Office apps, and I've got a couple of options. I can install Office directly from here, or I can manage the devices that this is installed onto. So as I mentioned, if you've got a machine at home that doesn't have Office and Word installed, you can install it using your work Microsoft 365 credentials, and it gives you the ability to install it on 5 devices, and that includes tablets and mobile devices. Of course, you don't actually need the desktop client now. The online version gives you that kind of nice access to content regardless of where you are. Another thing that we've deployed as part of this solution is something called the Organizational Asset Library. So within our intranet, we've set up a behind-the-scenes document library where we keep all our Office templates. So you can see here we've got some PowerPoint templates and some Word templates. And what this actually does is it gives us the ability to access those templates from within Word. So I can click File, New, and I can actually see where see those templates, and I can access them. So it gives you a centralized way to give people access to all that useful information. Another cool feature which we've seen be introduced in the last year or so is the ability to reuse content from other sources. So this works across the Office stack. You can see up here I've got this option to reuse files. If I click on this, it's actually going to allow me to explore other content that I have within my Microsoft 365 tenant. So rather than search around in a file share for slides and bits of information or images that I want to use, I can actually search within here, and then I can explore one of these presentations, and I can actually come in and add that content directly into my document. So you can do this with Word, PowerPoint, PDFs. It's really flexible, and it's a great way to make sure that you're using the most up-to-date version of that information. Okay, so there's a few other nice options up the top here that you may not have explored before. The next one is the editor option. So this is like a turbocharged version of spell check. If you've ever used a product called Grammarly before, you'll notice that there's some functionality within this that you'll recognise. Okay, so if I click on editor, what this actually does is it gives me quite a lot of flexibility in terms of proofing my document. So I can actually come in here and check the writing style that I want for my document. So this is a draft of a proposal, so I'm going to make sure it's professional, and it will go through and it will give me options to review my spelling and allow me to make suggestions. I can ignore those if that's not something I want to fix. It will do things like help me get my grammar correct. So if I've used incorrect grammar, it will allow me to correct that. And it will also allow me to check things like clarity of the document, conciseness, formality. It will even warn me if I've said something that could be deemed particularly insensitive. Another interesting thing we can do in here is we can actually look for to see whether this document has content in it that is similar to online content. So it's almost like a sort of plagiarism check in a way. So I can see here, okay, this section, there's a match for this. So if I click on this, you can actually see, luckily it's not plagiarism. It's content we've got on our website. So it will actually show me there's something very similar to this online, and it's on the Dapt.uk website. And I can actually come in here and open the source and see exactly where that content's come from. And maybe if I'm working on something where I've used some external content, it gives me the option to add some citation text so that we can do it in the correct way. So this is a really useful tool, and it's a great way of making sure that your document is clear and concise, doesn't have any grammatical or spelling errors in, and actually kind of trains you over time to write better documents. So this is something I use all the time. It's a really useful tool, so definitely check that one out. In a sort of similar vein, we've also got something now called Designer. So if I click on Designer, what you can see here is this will actually check my document for formatting issues. So have I copied and pasted some text from a different document and that's changed the font or the color of the text? Maybe one of my headings doesn't match the headings defined in the document template. I can click on Designer and review these. So you can see here, the first one is this heading. It was incorrectly formatted, so I'm going to accept that change. And I can skip on to the next one. Again, problem with the heading. So I can skip through my whole document and make sure that it's well presented. It doesn't look like it's a jumble of multiple documents. So it's a really useful tool, combined with the editor, should make sure that you've got really nice looking professional documents. So another one that I quite like, although this might not demo well, but we'll give it a go, is the options to dictate. So now that we're all working from home a lot more, this is probably an option you want to explore. Not something you'd want to do in an open office, but I'd say working from home, I've used this a few times and it definitely allows you to get content down on the page nice and quickly. So to enable it, I come in here and I click on dictate. If you haven't done this before, it may ask you if you can have access to your microphone. I'll click yes. And what I can do now is effectively, let me just check it's on. Okay, so now I should be able to dictate directly into my document. And as you can see there, it does a pretty good job of noting down what I've said, and actually cuts out the ums and the ahs as I say them. So it's pretty good. You can see it's not perfect. You do need to touch things up afterwards, but definitely a way of getting that content down on the page nice and quickly. So another cool feature, and this is only available in the online version of Word. As I said, some of the features get pushed out to the online version before they make their way down to the desktop version, is the ability to embed content directly within the document. So I can copy and paste the link from YouTube, Microsoft Stream, SlideShare, Vimeo, and a few other sources. And what it will do is, rather than just embed a URL, it will actually go off and pull down the video. So I've got a URL here. So this is from our YouTube channel. So this is a recording of one of our previous sessions. So if I go in there and hit enter, you can see it's actually embedded that YouTube video directly in my document. And I can choose, as the owner of this document, do I want that as a link, or or should I show the actual embedded video? And if you view this on the desktop version, it will show the link. So I think that's a pretty cool feature, and definitely brings your documents to life a bit more. Okay, so next up, another useful feature here is the ability to catch up on document changes. So say I've been working on a proposal. You can see there's a proposal down here that I've been working on with Steve. I'd done some work yesterday. Steve also did some work on the document. And what Word does is it now provides a nice, easy way for me to see the changes that have been made. So because someone has edited this after I last accessed the document, I can click in and you can see what will happen up here in the top right-hand corner is it will show me that someone else has made changes to this document since I last did. So I can actually click on that person's name and it will scroll me down to the section of the document where that content has been added, and it will actually give me details about who added it and at what time. So if you're co-authoring and collaborating with people on big documents, this is a really nice way to catch up. So one other thing I wanted to show you in the online version of this document before I switch over to the desktop version, to show you a couple of things there, is the ability to co-author. So I'm in the proposal document within our document library, and I can start typing here, and actually my colleague Steve can jump in and start editing this document at the same time. So bear with me just a sec while Steve opens it. Okay, great. So you can see here, we can actually both work on this document at the same time. So Steve's changing some formatting, and this is possible because we're accessing an online version of this document. If we were accessing a local copy, this wouldn't be possible. So you can see there's actually no save button in here, and that's because all the changes are saved directly into the document. You can also co-author in the desktop version of the client. So if you wanted to have the same experience in the desktop version, you can have multiple people editing it there as well, and you can actually mix and match. You can have people editing in the online version and other people editing in the desktop client. And if you do this within Teams, you can actually have a conversation around that document at the same time. So it's a really neat feature that I think removes the need to manually version documents now. So something else I'll show you in a minute is versioning. But I think we need to get away from that idea of creating multiple copies of a document, merging changes together. The beauty of Microsoft 365 is that we can all edit a single source of the truth. We can get away from that idea of emailing multiple copies of documents around and leaving it to someone else to merge them together, which is a pain, as we all know. Okay, so next up, I'm going to show you a couple of things in the desktop client. Okay, so this is just a draft document that I've been putting together. This is my full desktop client version of Word. And you can see I've got a section at the top. And what I'm going to show you now is the ability to actually translate text within a document. So I can access this by clicking on the review section. And you can see here under language, I've actually now got an option to translate. So I can click on this and I've got an option. Do I want to translate the whole document or just a section of this document? I'm just going to choose a section for now. And I can go into the translator and you can see it's automatically detected that this is English, and it gives me a range of different languages that I can translate this into. And this is using Microsoft's online translation services. So it's actually a pretty comprehensive list of different languages. So for example, I could choose Icelandic, and then when I'm done, I just hit insert, and that's actually going to put that translation directly into my document. So if you're a company that deals with multiple different languages, this is a great way to translate documents quickly, and then you can get someone in the local language to just proofread it and check that it's okay. So a really useful tool and something that's worth exploring. Okay, next up, I'm just going to close this down. I would like to show you the ability to check versions of a document. So if I've got a document stored within Microsoft 365, it will automatically version this document for me. So in the past, when we were all working in file shares, I'm sure you're familiar with the experience whereby someone would create a document, then they'd put in version 2, version 3, final, and it becomes a mess over time. And people would email copies of this document around. You'd have important documents in people's inboxes, and they'd be looking at versions that are 6 months old. It became a mess. Copies got put everywhere. It's not really an efficient way of working. So the idea with the Office suite within Microsoft 365 is that Microsoft 365 will automatically keep 500 versions of this document. So every time we go in and edit the document and then come out or click save, it will create a new version. And at any point, I can go back in. If I click on the 3 dots next to the document, I can go back in and look at the version history. So this will actually show me who edited this document and when. If I want to, I can click on the 3 drop downs and restore a previous version. But maybe before I do that, it would be useful for me to know what has changed since that version. So if I click on the 3 dots again and choose the option to open a file, this is going to fire it up in Word for me. And this was actually loading the previous version of that document. So what I can do here is I can actually click on compare. And this is going to load the original version of the document alongside the most recent version. So it allows me to compare 2 versions of the document. I can see over here on the right hand side, I've got the original document and the revised, the new version. And within the document, it actually shows me what's changed. So I can see here that anything that in red has been added, anything with a line through it has been removed. So and down the left hand side, it will actually show me who made those changes. So we can see that translation that we just put in is being flagged here as well. So this is a really nice way to see what's changed over time within a document. And obviously, as documents get bigger and bigger, this gets more important because it can be hard to keep track of exactly what's changed. Okay, great. So hopefully that's given you a few nice tips and tricks from Microsoft Word. I'm going to flip back to the slide deck now and just cover off a couple of top tips, based on our experience with Word and some of those new features. I'd say the first one, I mentioned it before, make sure that you utilize that versioning functionality. Get away from that idea of having multiple copies of documents. No one wants to merge documents together. It can be dangerous because people can be looking at old versions of documents. Make sure you're using that versioning and you have a single source of the truth. The next one is to say that you can edit Word documents on any device. So if you log into your mobile device, you can edit. You can do it on a machine that doesn't have Word installed. If you've got a home machine, you can even install one of those 5 client licenses that you have available to you. Next up is start using editor. So ditch the spell check, start using editor. It gives you a whole load more functionality and is a really useful tool, and it's actually improving quite rapidly. So when it was first released, it was quite a basic implementation, and it's really kicked on recently. The other thing is to keep an eye on Word Online. So Microsoft actually push out some of these new features to Word Online before they come down to the desktop app. So rather than always choose the option to open documents from Microsoft 365 in the desktop, which actually takes longer to load, fire them up in Word Online, and you'll find that actually you can do pretty much all of the editing that you'd want. So thanks for that. With that, I'm just going to cover off the last section. So as always, thanks for everyone for joining us. We hope you found the session useful. We'd always like some feedback, whether it's good or constructive. So if you can scan that QR code with your phone, it'll take you off to a Microsoft form where you can enter some details, and we'll be giving out a prize at the end of this series for anyone who's for a selected person who's filled in one of those forms. So keeping with the Microsoft Office theme, the next session will be on PowerPoint. This is part 8 of our 20-part series. We're nearly halfway through, and there's some really great stuff in here about PowerPoint, so definitely worth a look. It's also part of a bigger series, so this is the full schedule. we're doing them roughly every week. There's a few pauses in there, but there's some great stuff coming up soon. So keep an eye on our LinkedIn profile and your a company page, and you'll see all this information coming through. You can also look at the old videos via the YouTube channel. Great. Well, thanks very much for your time, and see you on the next one.